Is ignoring someone really a secret weapon in the complex dance of love? Today we're going to delve into this fascinating strategy of purposefully ignoring a woman in order to pique her interest and entice her to become closer. Based on the Stoic philosophy of restraint and selective engagement, this method subverts the norms of traditional dating. In this video, we'll examine the psychological nuances and philosophical underpinnings of the norms that suggest less is more. But it's not just about playing it cool. It's also about understanding the fine line between fostering indifference and piquing interest. We'll also look at real-world scenarios where this method has either backfired or succeeded spectacularly, giving you a comprehensive understanding of when and how to use this strategy in your own relationships. So grab a seat, get ready to transform your attitude to attraction, and don't forget to hit the bell button, like, and subscribe if you find these insights interesting. That way, you'll never miss out on our innovative dating advice again. Let us start by giving priority to self-care. Have you ever noticed that when you're entirely committed to improving yourself, the energy around you appears to shift as well? Whether that's going to the gym frequently, learning a new skill, or pursuing your passions more. This isn't about purposefully ignoring her. Rather, it's about being so dedicated to your own journey that it naturally shifts the dynamic. Think about it. You're not pursuing her attention, worrying about what she thinks, or trying to impress her. Rather, you're genuinely invested in becoming the best version of yourself from a Stoic perspective. Something interesting happens. It's like you start to radiate a different kind of energy. This is crucial. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what's within our control, our growth mindset and daily actions. When you embody this principle, it changes everything. The focus isn't on her anymore, it's on you, and that's where true confidence is born. Let's take an example. Say you've been hitting the gym, reading more, or exploring meditation to calm your mind. These actions aren't just for show. They represent real growth, a commitment to improving yourself. Now she may notice this change. Maybe she wonders, what's he been up to? Or perhaps he's different, more focused. But the key here is that you're not doing it to get a reaction from her. You're doing it for you. This kind of self-care creates a magnetic pull. You're not ignoring her in the sense of playing games. You're simply not prioritizing her over your own progress. And sometimes that's the best time to ignore women, when it serves your growth. It's about shifting your energy inward, letting go of the need for external validation, and allowing your actions to speak for themselves. Stoics believe that the most powerful way to live is by mastering yourself, not being ruled by external desires or the opinions of others. So next time you find yourself wondering whether to focus on her or on your own path, remember this: when you invest deeply in your personal growth, the world, including her, will notice, but by then you'll be so grounded in who you are that whether or not she does won't even matter. Your journey, your development. Before we move on, please prioritize your peace. I'd love to hear your ideas. How do you make self-care a priority in your life? Type a remark below. I've chosen my road to let you know that you're also on the path of self-mastery. If you find these insights useful, please remember to like this video, as it greatly aids in the message's dissemination. Let's use an example. Let's say you've been going to the gym, reading more, or trying out meditation to help you relax. These aren't just for show. They show real growth and a commitment to bettering yourself. She may have noticed the change and wondered what he's been up to, or perhaps he's different and more focused. But the important thing to remember is that you're doing this for you, not for her approval. Let me ask you this. Have you ever watched a movie where you were captivated to the screen, wondering what would happen next? This is because, as humans, we all enjoy a little mystery. It draws us in, keeps us curious, and satisfies our need for more. Now, picture introducing that same element of mystery into your relationships. Here's the twist, though. This is about living by the Stoic concept of controlling what you disclose and when you share it. Let's discuss keeping mystery and how it relates to Stoicism. This is not about lying or playing games. One of the main tenets of Stoic philosophy is self-control in relationships, which is understanding when to show and when to keep certain aspects of yourself hidden. You don't have to play all your cards right away. Instead, let things develop organically. Similarly, Stoics advocated for thoughtful responses rather than impulsive reactions. As an illustration, consider the following. You should gradually share certain aspects of your life. The next time she inquires about your weekend, give her a little leeway to get more curious by saying something like, "I had an interesting weekend, but I'll have to tell you more about it later," rather than giving her a summary of everything you did. Sparks her curiosity and keeps her wanting to know more. This doesn't make you deceptive, it makes you intriguing, and it's all about allowing her to discover more about you as time goes on. Why is this important? Because overexposure can kill. Intrigue, think about it like this. If you walk into a room and smell a strong fragrance at first, it captures your attention. But the longer you stay in that room, the more you get used to the smell, and eventually you don't notice it at all. The same goes for relationships. If you lay everything out all at once, you remove that sense of excitement and discovery. By maintaining some mystery, you give her the chance to stay curious, to want to dig deeper into who you are. Now here's where knowing when to ignore comes into play. Sometimes not responding immediately or giving everything away allows space for her to miss you, for her mind to wander. In Stoicism, there's a focus on not being overly attached to external validation. You don't need to rush to respond every time. Let her wonder where you are, what you're doing, and most importantly, let her come to you by creating that space. You also maintain your peace and control over your emotions. So if you want to keep her intrigued, remember this Stoic lesson, practice patience, reveal things gradually, and let her curiosity build. The mystery isn't about hiding, it's about allowing her to discover you layer by layer, and sometimes the best way to do that is to step back, focus on yourself, and let her come closer when she's ready. The third, changing the dynamics. When you're first getting to know a woman, it's easy to get caught up in the chase. However, guys who chase women all the time can upset the balance if they are the ones who initiate contact. In this case, she may start to take your efforts for granted. This is where the Stoic mindset comes in. Stoics teach us to take charge of what we can control and let go of everything else. Sometimes taking the initiative is the most powerful thing you can do. For example, let's say you've been the one organizing all of the meetings and sending all of the texts. What happens when you stop? Does she notice? Does she reach out? Does the conversation stop completely? That is quiet. Pulling back and letting her meet you halfway is not just awkward, but it also reveals whether she is genuinely interested in getting to know you or if she is simply going along for the ride. This is the point at which you should ignore her, but not out of retaliation or manipulation, but rather to reset the dynamics and give her room to miss you. In that gap, you give her the chance to express her interest now from a Stoic perspective. This isn't about playing games. It's about maintaining balance and emotional control. You're not ignoring her because you're trying to be cold or distant. It's about making her wonder, why hasn't he texted me? What's he up to? When you create that distance, it shifts the power instead of you chasing her. All you're doing is letting nature take its course and taking control of your actions and time. If you pull back, you're letting her know that you value your time and that you won't always be the one doing all the work. Trust me, if she's genuinely interested, she'll notice and step into that space. If not, That's your cue to stop chasing someone who isn't willing to meet you halfway. It's about maintaining your self-respect, valuing your effort, and letting things unfold naturally. If she doesn't, that's your cue to move on. It's about maintaining your self-respect, valuing your effort, and letting things unfold naturally. Grace, now that you are aware that you maintained control over your feelings and behavior, let's pause to consider this. How many times have you been the one to make plans or reach out, and when you stopped, what happened? This change in dynamics isn't about manipulation. Rather, it's about allowing both parties to express their genuine intentions. I'd be interested in knowing what you think about this strategy and whether it has ever shown where someone's genuine interests lay. Write a note below with your experience, or just type number 4. I take charge of what I can and let go of the rest. When it comes to managing relationships, particularly in their early phases, there's one thing you need to get good at: balance. It's important to remember that in the world of Stoicism, we are in control of our own thoughts and reactions. While there is a fine line between displaying genuine interest and coming across as desperate, desperation is not only ugly, but also indicates a lack of control. As Stoics, we know that self-control is the key to living a life of strength and purpose. When you feel the urge to always be available, always respond right away. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to, or because I fear losing her attention? This is where the idea of temperance enters the picture. While being available can indicate interest, being overly available can also convey that you don't have anything else going on in your life, and let's face it, that kind of energy doesn't spark attraction. Instead, it's important to keep your own space and pursue your own interests. This applies to work, hobbies, or just taking some time to yourself. Consider it this way: if you're always jumping at the chance to chat, where's the intrigue? A woman might assume that he's always waiting for me to message him because he has other things going on. This isn't about playing games, but rather about appreciating your own time and showing that your life doesn't revolve around other people's attention. Here's a real-world example. Imagine that after a long day at work, your phone buzzes and it's her. You want to respond right away, but wait on. Finish what you're doing first, then respond carefully. By taking your time, you make room for mystery and demonstrate that you have priorities and that she is a part of your life, but not its primary emphasis. Letting her believe he has a separate existence, which is a welcome change. This is about controlling your feelings and overcoming the urge to look for approval all the time. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about practicing the Stoic principle of self-sufficiency when you live with purpose, when you pursue your own growth. Others naturally become more interested when you ignore her occasionally or simply don't rush to reply, giving her the opportunity to see that you're a man of depth, a man who leads his own life. Number 5. You don't need to chase every moment of attention because you are grounded in yourself. Ignoring her now and then when it's intentional and rooted in your own sense of self-respect can be a powerful tool. It shows you're not desperate for approval. Living independently isn't a strategy to make someone miss you or crave your attention. Rather, it's the best way to lead a fulfilling life. When you're genuinely engaged in your work, hobbies, or personal development, you're demonstrating to the world, especially the women in your immediate vicinity, that your life isn't about impressing people. Rather, you're passionate about what you do, which naturally makes you stand out. It's like sending out a silent signal that says, I don't need to be constantly available to be worthy of your attention. For example, let's say you've been working hard on a new business project, going to the gym on a regular basis, and maintaining your social life. A woman might text you, but you're concentrating on your priorities and don't feel the need to reply right away. You're not playing games or attempting to make her chase you. Rather, you're just truly unavailable in a society where people want instant responses and continual attention. Your innate lack of availability will be noticeable, and she might even conclude that he is committed to his career and personal objectives. It's encouraging that he's not simply another guy waiting for my message. This is the point at which Stoicism imparts to us the ability to manage our impulses and desires, and to always be present when possible. If you can do this, you'll not only lead a more satisfying existence, but also draw in admirers and respect for your independence. It's crucial to understand that this isn't about fabricating a false sense of scarcity or seeming too preoccupied in order to pique curiosity. That would be manipulation, runs against the tenets of Stoicism itself. Stoics regard sincerity, self-control, and sincerity. The Stoic approach would advise you to take a step back and refocus on what matters: your growth, your goals, and your peace of mind. The next time you're caught up in your work or spending quality time doing something that makes you feel alive. By not dropping everything to respond to that text or to make yourself constantly available, you're telling them that your value isn't based on their attention. In fact, knowing when to ignore a woman isn't about disrespecting her. It's about respecting yourself and your time. Accept your innate inaccessibility. Before we go on, I'd love to hear your opinions. It's not just a dating technique. It's a lifestyle based in Stoic knowledge, and the proper people will understand and respect it. How do you strike a balance between your connections and personal goals? Have you noticed that others view you differently as a result of your inherent inaccessibility? Take a time to think about it and share your experiences in the comments section. Encourage people to take charge of their time and energy and lead more genuine lives. Let's start a discussion about how you have personally been impacted by the Stoic philosophy. Sixth journey: emotional equilibrium. Things can get heated quickly sometimes. Maybe she says something that riles you, or you find yourself overwhelmed by emotions. In these situations, how you respond can make all the difference. Breathe deeply. Stoicism teaches you that you don't always have to react to everything. Not every action warrants a reaction, especially when emotions are running high. You don't always have to confront her if she says something offhand or ignore her messages. Instead, take a step back and evaluate the situation using logic rather than just emotion. Consider this. If she's behaving aloof, your first instinct would be to confront her or chase her down. How frequently does it end up being better in the long term to react impulsively to emotions? Probably not very often. Use emotional intelligence. Remind yourself that reality is not determined by your emotions. Staying cool and collected indicates emotional strength when you can halt, regain control, and proceed with emotional balance. Perhaps she's just busy, or perhaps she's testing your reactions. She will begin to notice that this guy is different. He is grounded and introspective, and his emotions don't control him. That kind of energy is what attracts people to him. However, there are situations in which it is appropriate to ignore her, not out of petty jealousy, but rather out of emotional restraint. You might be better off saying nothing at all if she's being manipulative or playing games. Remember, emotional balancing is about maintaining control over when to intervene and when to back off. Sometimes the most effective thing you can do is just turn away from needless drama. It's not about playing hard to get. It's about demonstrating that your peace of mind isn't easily disturbed by anyone's actions. You have more important things to focus on. When you maintain your composure, focus, and stoic attitude, you'll discover that the proper individuals will automatically admire your strength number 7. Rekindling the pursuit reveals that there's a delicate balance between being involved and understanding when to back off, because occasionally that very area sparks something new and interesting. In relationships, Stoicism can be your secret weapon, since it teaches us to be aware of our behaviors and know when to back off, especially when things start to become routine. Maintaining a sense of mystery and intrigue is just as important as actively pursuing someone. Some ladies find great thrill in being unsure of what to do next. Stoicism teaches us to manage our energy strategically, rather than constantly attempting to please or persuade people of your value. Occasionally, it's great to let her approach you, refocus on your own objectives, and see how the dynamic changes. Let's imagine that everything is now routine. Now, instead of pursuing her attention, you choose to put yourself first and go to the gym. Every text, call, and date feels like a duplicate of the last. Work on your personal projects while giving her room to wonder. When she does, she will begin to question what he is up to and why he isn't as available as he once was. May even discover that she is missing the erratic energy you brought into the relationship. By taking a step back and embracing the Stoic mindset of not being overly attached to the outcome, you create a new dynamic, and she begins to chase the excitement and mystery of your next move, because sometimes it's about being just out of reach. Ignoring her when it's appropriate, not out of spite but out of your own sense of self-worth, can often reignite a relationship. The thrill of the chase is realizing that people value what they have to work for, not just playing games. If she senses that you're not going above and beyond to keep things going, she might decide to put in more effort herself. As the Stoics say, control what you can and let go of the rest. Sometimes the best way to rekindle the chase is to actually let go and allow her to experience the excitement of wanting to win you over again. Let's now take a moment to consider the importance of taking a step back. Have you ever noticed that giving someone space piqued their interest again? Perhaps you've noticed that changing the focus entirely to yourself can alter the dynamic entirely. Consider a moment when taking a step back improved your relationships, and feel free to type your thoughts in the space provided below. I make room to rekindle the pursuit of number 8 and defeat excessive perseverance. For a second, let's be honest. Haven't we all experienced situations like this? The rush of getting to know someone new can easily turn into a full-on pursuit, but this is where the Stoic mindset can truly shine. You send one message, then another, maybe even try to schedule your next few dates before she's had a chance to respond. Instead of focusing on instant gratification, Stoicism teaches us the value of measured actions and balance. It also helps us understand the power of self-control and what we can and cannot influence. If you find yourself becoming overly dramatic, take a step back and appreciate the importance of space. Trying too hard can lead to a sense of pressure that most people will naturally want to escape. Exhibit wisdom by being patient. Let's break it down. You can wonder whether she will believe I'm losing interest if I don't continue to show it. But a wise man, someone who is rooted in Stoic principles, understands that excessive persistence is counterproductive. By giving her space, you're conveying to her that you're confident enough in yourself to let things flow naturally. When you take a step back, you're letting her know that you're interested, but not desperate. You're a man who doesn't chase after women blindly, but who knows when to take a deep breath and let the natural progression of attraction play out. If you push for her attention all the time, it may come across as a desperate attempt to win her approval. However, by giving her space to reflect, you're giving her the impression that you're confident enough to let things happen naturally. For instance, let's say you've been texting her all day, trying to keep the conversation going instead of forcing it. Silence is powerful because it gives her time to reflect, wonder what you're up to, and most significantly, miss you. It's not about playing games, it's about demonstrating that you're not influenced by your emotions. The next time you feel like you're overly persistent, keep in mind that true strength comes from knowing when to act and when to pause. Give her space to breathe, and let your confidence speak for itself. It's not about ignoring her. It's about knowing when to pull back strategically. Be the man who gives her room, and trust me, she'll notice and appreciate it. A Stoic man remains calm, measured, and in control of his actions. 9 is the number, not for manipulative purposes. Ignoring should never be about trying to control someone's feelings or create an outcome that benefits you. That's not only dishonest, it's also unsustainable in the long run. Women, just like anyone else, have an innate ability to sense when they're being played, and it can backfire on you. Instead, think of ignoring her as something rooted in Stoicism. This philosophy teaches us to remain focused on what we can control ourselves, and sometimes that means withdrawing attention, not as a tactic, but as a genuine need for personal space, or prioritizing responsibilities. For example, if you're swamped with work deep in a project or simply need time to recharge, mentally taking that space isn't just for you, it's for her too. By focusing on your well-being, you become the best version of yourself in the relationship. Now imagine this. You've been quiet for a couple of days because work has been overwhelming. She reaches out, maybe a little concerned, but instead of seeing it as an opportunity to manipulate her emotions, you respond with honesty. You tell her the truth that you've been handling business, focusing on your priorities, or taking some time to reflect. This is what being a Stoic looks like. Being direct, clear, and grounded in your reasons. When she sees that your silence comes from a place of authenticity, not games, she'll realize you're someone who values clarity and emotional stability. She'll see that you're not just brushing her off for the sake of it, but you've got solid reasons. Keep in mind that Stoicism is about controlling emotions rather than suppressing them. It's also about recognizing when and why to ignore someone when it's truly important to do so in order to maintain equilibrium rather than cause confusion. When it comes to your own journey, your goals, and your well-being, she will respect you more for it and ultimately feel more secure, knowing that you're not playing games, but are actually living a purposeful life. Now, I want you to take a moment and consider this. Are you ignoring someone for the right reasons, or is there something deeper at play? In the end, it's about being real. Don't ignore her to provoke a reaction. Disregard her when your attention is needed elsewhere. The goal here is to be sincere in your behavior and rooted in your priorities rather than to manipulate. If you could just post a comment below with your opinions on how you've managed relationships while maintaining your own space, I'd love to hear it. I'm centered on my development. Number 10. Cultivating respect. Mutual respect is the cornerstone of any healthy relationship, yet this is where many people go wrong. Your ideas count, and you never know when they can aid someone else on their journey. It's not only about how much you respect her, it's also about how much you respect yourself. When you react to her calls or drop everything to answer them, you're communicating a message, one that may not be what you initially thought. Don't misunderstand me. While paying attention is vital, it's also critical to demonstrate that you have a life of your own, with boundaries and priorities of your own. This is where Stoicism enters the picture. Stoics taught us to live by moral standards rather than letting our desires or impulses rule our lives. Acceptance. When you focus on your own path, something interesting happens. She starts to notice that you're not caving in to her every whim or being too available. This creates a sense of respect because it shows that you know your worth. Instead, make sure your actions reflect that you have commitments outside of her. You have goals, a purpose, and things that matter to you. If you're constantly at her beck and call, you're being led by emotions rather than reason, and that's a slippery slope. Consider this instance. The easy solution is to drop everything and go, But if you genuinely respect yourself and the path you're on, you let her know you've got things to take care of and you're not being rude. For example, if you're in the middle of working on an important project, working out, or even just taking some time for yourself, and she asks you to hang out at the last minute, you're just demonstrating how busy you are and how, as a male, you can't always be available. When a woman sees that you respect yourself enough to say no, sometimes she will respect you more. You'll stand out as confident, secure, and aware of your worth, and that's attractive. You're not ignoring her to manipulate or prove a point. Rather, you're doing it because you prioritize your growth, your peace, and your life quantity. 11. Spark interest once more. Let's be honest, sometimes in the early stages of a relationship, or even just attraction, things can feel a little stale. You've had the same kinds of conversations and shared the same kinds of stories, and the once strong spark starts to fade. This is when taking a step back, not just physically, but emotionally as well, comes into play. The important thing to remember is that this isn't about disappearing to play games. This is where Stoicism comes into play. Stoics were all about understanding what you can control and letting go of what you can't. Sometimes doing less speaks louder than doing more. Think about it this way. If you're always there, always available, there's no room for mystery, no room for her to miss you. It's like eating the same meal every day. It gets boring no matter how good it is. You can't make someone feel a certain way, but you can control your own behavior and feelings by taking a step back. By doing this, you're essentially practicing Stoic detachment. You're not seeking her approval. Instead, you're letting her realize the value of your presence in her life. When you give her space to think things through, she'll start to recall those special times. When should you ignore a woman? Not out of spite or frustration, but rather when you've done everything you can and it's time for her to feel the effects of your absence. Don't be afraid to let her miss you. The laughter you shared and the unique connection that only you two have, suddenly the absence becomes a powerful presence. Without air, a fire cannot burn, and occasionally the best method to rekindle a flame is to move aside and allow it to spark again on its own 12. Be careful not to get too attached. Let me explain. Steering clear of over-attachment. Stoics frequently discuss the significance of balance, staying grounded, and not allowing outside forces to shake our peace of mind in relationships. This means that if you're always available, you shouldn't let your emotions overwhelm your sense of control. It's interesting to note how quickly things can burn out when you jump headfirst into a new relationship. Sometimes that rapid attachment can fizzle just as fast as it started. This brings us to an important lesson, knowing when to slow down and avoid over-attachment. Think of this as controlling the pace. If you constantly give too much too quickly, you're putting yourself at risk for burnout. By taking a step back and giving her space, you allow the relationship to naturally evolve rather than allowing it to go out of hand. Think about this situation. You've recently begun dating someone, and everything is exciting and sparkly. However, instead of texting her every minute, cancelling plans to spend time with her, or showing up all the time, you purposefully slow down. You let her wonder about you a little, and you don't respond to every message right away, or drop everything for her. This is because you're practicing self-restraint, which the Stoics firmly believed in. It's not about playing games. Rather, it's about demonstrating that you're in control of your emotions, that you value your time, and that you don't need to rely on someone else. Over-attachment frequently results in losing oneself in another person, yet Stoicism teaches us to keep our composure by taking things slow and preserving our individuality. Not only are you helping yourself maintain a healthy balance, but you're also helping her value the time you do have together. She begins to sense that things are progressing at the proper speed. This isn't a rapid-fire build-up that leaves you both dizzy, but rather a steady, intentional build-up, and she will come to appreciate the benefits of taking your time because it feels right. Plus, you'll know when to ignore her. Yes, that's right. Sometimes you have to step back, especially when you feel the relationship is becoming one-sided or you're being taken for granted by not chasing her every time she pulls away or constantly seeking validation. You maintain your sense of self-respect. A Stoic doesn't beg for attention. You stay cool, calm, and collected. She'll notice that you're not just another guy desperate for her approval, and this could actually make her value you more when you hold back and avoid getting too attached too quickly. You give her space to think, to miss you, and to realize that you're someone who knows his worth. A relationship should be built on mutual respect, not on chasing or being chased. So next time you feel things moving too fast, take a step back. Be mindful of your actions. Let the connection grow naturally, and always remember, a Stoic keeps his cool values, his independence, and knows when to slow down, or even when to ignore her for the sake of maintaining his peace and balance. As we wrap up today's explore the psychological layers and philosophical roots of the silent strategy of ignoring in the context of love. It's evident that when used with Stoic wisdom, this method is far from being just a game. Rather, it's about creating a mystique and focusing on personal growth, which in turn naturally piques interest and draws others closer. We've also highlighted real-world examples that show the fine line between fostering curiosity and igniting indifference. This strategy is a monument to the strength of self-control and the allure of living an autonomous, vigorous life. Whether you're channeling your efforts toward your own objectives or deliberately creating space in social interactions, it's not simply about being evasive. The key is to keep your composure and integrity intact while negotiating the complex dance of relationships. If you found value in today's observations, please stay in touch with us instead of moving on. Please click the like button if you thought our discussion was helpful, and subscribe to receive updates on our newest posts. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or experiences on the subject of the day. If you're interested in seeing more, click on the suggested videos that are currently playing on your screen to learn more about modern Stoicism and how to master the law of attraction. Thank you for watching, and until the next time, keep being the best version of yourself.